So I have my moments. I go up and down with iRacing. So I haven't been in iRacing now for probably 2, 3 years. But before that, I was very, very big into iRacing. Was racing, 4, 5, 6, 7 hours a week, putting in, sessions and doing stuff. And probably the biggest thing that I notice in iRacing isn't all the stuff like, does it compare, and all that stuff. I'll talk about that in a second. But the thing that I notice is, when you get into a Miata or you get into a Jannetta or a, Porsche or whatever your car happens to be, and you get on the track and you're there physically, um, it's a workout. You are not in an air conditioned room where you can reach over and grab your beer. You're in a 140-degree cockpit and, pulling 1.3, 1.6 Gs depending on your car, and it's a workout. I originally, one of the modifications I made in real life compared to what happens in iRacing, you know, uh, had a Bell full face helmet as you do inside of an enclosed car, and moved up to a Stilo Carbon, very expensive, but the weight savings on it made a dramatic impact on how sore my neck and shoulders were at the end of the race day. Right, even though you're putting in half an hour sessions and practicing or doing whatever, that's the biggest thing that I think I notice about sitting in iRacing and sitting in a real car, right? Um, Alex and I and my son and a few people. What were Roger? We did the 24 hours of Nürburgring or whatever.
Oh, it was Peter Fallman, a bunch of guys. Nobody from Mad Sim.
Yeah,
It was before that,
but we did a 24-hour endurance race on iRacing on the Nürburgring and ran the whole 24 hours. There were 4 or 5 of us. So we each had hour and 15-minute stints was a full tank. And there's no way, there's no way I could run a 24-hour race like that in real life. I mean, just the physicality of it um, would be draining. But
Mm.
comparing the two things, uh, you do learn apexes, you do learn braking points, you do learn, uh, you know, what it's like to be an inch behind another Miata's bumper, right? And you do miss, like when I drive, there's a lot of people who drive very smooth on the steering wheel. I'll move my hand so you can see him. Very smooth on the wheel. Alex is a very smooth driver, takes care of his tires. I'm constantly moving my tires around as I'm feeling the
Mm.
track to see what my car wants to do and what the balance of it is. And, I have no problem, popping a gear to get the car to rotate or stabbing the brakes really quick to get some weight in the front end to get some rotation happening. I'm very aggressive with how I move the car around, but I, know how that works. Whereas in iRacing, I feel it's harder to do because your butt's not in the seat. I do a lot of feeling through my,
Yeah.
butt accelerometer.
yeah. But I think there's a lot of things. I mean, when I think about originally when I got into iRacing, it wasn't so much like, oh, I'm going to do a bunch of racing online. It was more like, I race a 69 Z28 in historic Trans Am, and you literally can't drive the car enough, right? So in like any racing, you can't just get enough time. So part of it's time. Like you can't get to a racetrack enough if you're not, unless you're a pro, I guess. But so how do
Mm.
you make up for that, and how do you practice? Because clearly in racing, practicing makes a big difference for most people. And the other thing is like money. I mean, like I know, like Kevin and I are both fortunate. Like money isn't really the gating factor. Probably time is much more of a gating factor. But it's like, if I'm
Tires
gonna
are still expensive,
if
man.
I'm gonna run the
I don't know about you. I
if I'm
get
gonna
free tires in iRacing. I'm
if I'm
okay
gonna
with
run the
that.
Camaro, if I'm gonna run the Camaro in Monterey at Laguna, one set of tires is gonna be $1,600, and that's just tires. Another couple $100 for gas, getting there, transporting the car, blah blah blah, whatever
Mm.
entry fees, blah blah blah. It's like, I mean, I could literally I could literally own all the content on iRacing and have the coolest like non-motion rig, and
Mm.
it would still be cheaper than one weekend to drive in the Camaro. So, that part's nice, and I think the other thing is that you have you can try stuff in a car, like particularly in the MX5 cups. You could try stuff like, what happens if I go super deep here and just crank the wheel really hard into this turn? And then you can try it and be like, okay, and try a bunch of different things and be like, okay, now when I get the seat time in the actual car, I've already tried 8 or 9 things that probably won't work because I already tried them in iRacing and they don't work. And I tried one or two things that in a real car might actually work. In iRacing, it kind of worked or it really worked. And so now I want to try those things. And I don't have to spend the time trying those other things because I'm pretty sure those aren't going to work based on iRacing.
This is Into the Apex Motorsport Podcast Network.